Mango eating stream when? You know what? Fuck it. We're gonna read the Hunger Games with my mouth full of mangoes. Hello, everybody. Dude, yeah. I might have a little intermission with having a mango, not gonna lie. No, you'll get my books messed up. True. Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. We're gonna fucking read some more of the Hunger Games. We're at chapter 11, and we're gonna read. Oh shit, he's right there. Oh shit. Well, that's good. No, yeah, we're gonna read Hunger Game. The goal is to finish the Hunger Games until the new movie comes out. And so if we do this, we'll be like roughly halfway into Catching Fire. Then we have Mockingjay and Ballad of Songbird and Snake. Yeah. So, let's see. We got this. We have Fallout New Vegas, Resident Evil Requiem. We did start Subnautica. We could continue that. I just want to finish a playthrough. And I think we're gonna well, we did beat Unbeatable, which was phenomenal, by the way. I love the Alice in Wonderland kind of game that it was. The rhythm game was really solid. But I think the next thing we're gonna finish up and wrap up is gonna be New Vegas, and then maybe mess around with some more Subnautica, or no, Requiem. Yeah. So we are going to read The Hunger Games: Catching Fire, chapters 11 through 14. I usually do about 5, but it is pretty late. So we're gonna do about like 4. Yeah. So yeah, let's fucking. Oh wait. Wait. There we go. I feel like Bruno Mars with these. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. We are going to read. So where were we? Last chapter it was that's what Bonnie said. I have people on my side. What side? I'm on. Let's see. I'm crush on Winnie. In the fading light, the chain links look as innocuous as usual, but what makes me jerk back my hand is a sound, like the buzz of a tree full of tracker-jacker nests, indicating the fence is alive with electricity. Yes, so Katniss outside with the fence on, which is bad news. Okay. Enough banter. Hopefully people will join in here later. Okay. Chapter 11. My feet back up automatically and I blend into the trees. I cover my mouth with my glove to disperse the white of my breath in the icy air. My adrenaline courses through me, wiping all the concerns of the day from my mind as I focus on the immediate threat before me. What is going on? Has Thread turned on the fence as an additional security precaution? Or does he somehow know I have escaped his net today? Is he determined to strand me outside the District 12? Reading. Yes. Hello, Lani. Let's see. Drag me to the square to be locked in the stockade or whipped or hanged. Calm down. I order myself. It's not as if this is the first time I've been caught outside of the district by an electrified fence. It happened a few times over the years, but Gale was always with me. The two of us would just pick a comfortable tree to hang out in, until the power shut off, which it always did, eventually. If I was running late, Prim even got in the habit of going to the meadow to check if the fence was charged, to spare my mother worry. Thank you for the likes. But today my family would never imagine I'd go in the woods. I've even taken steps to mislead them. So if I don't show up, worry they will, Kit Yoda. And there's a part of me that's worried too, because I'm not sure it's just a coincidence. The power coming on the very day I returned to the woods. Ugh. I thought no one saw me sneak under the fence, but who knows? There are always eyes for hire. Someone reported Gale kissing me in that very spot. Still, that was in daylight before I was more careful about my behavior. Could there be surveillance cameras? I've wondered about this before. Is this the way President Snow knows about the kiss? It was dark when I was under, and my face was bundled in a scarf. But the list of suspects likely to be trespassing into the woods is probably very short. My eyes peer through the trees, past the fence, into the meadow. All I can see is the wet snow illuminated here and there by the light of the windows on the edge of the seam. No peacekeepers in sight. No signs I am being hunted. Whether Thread knows I left the district today or not, I realize my course of action must be the same. To get back inside the fence unseen and pretend I never left. Any contact with the chain link or the coils of barbed wire that guard the top would mean instant electrocution. I don't think I can burrow under the fence without risking detection, and the ground's frozen hard anyway. That leaves only one choice. Somehow, I'm going to have to get over it. Benny fodder. I begin to skirt along the tree line, searching for a tree with a branch high and long enough to fit my needs. After about a mile, I come upon an old maple that might do. The trunk is too wide and icy to shiny up. Shiny up. Though, and there are no low branches. I'm fumbling. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on, let me get some water. Okay. To shiny up? I thought it was shimmy. The trunk is too wide and icy to shiny up, though, and there are no low branches. I climb a neighboring tree and leap precariously into the maple, almost losing my hold on the slick bark. But I manage to get a grip and slowly inch my way out on a limb that hangs above the barbed wire. No, it says shiny. S-H-I-N-N-Y. It's not shimmy. As I look down, I remember why Gale and I always waded in the woods rather than try to tackle the fence. Being high enough to avoid getting fried means you've got to be at least 20 feet in the air. I guess my branch must be 25. That's a dangerously long drop, even for someone who's had years of practice in trees. But what choice do I have? I could look for another branch, but it's almost dark now. The falling snow will obscure any moonlight. Here, at least, I can see I've got a snowbank to cushion my landing. Even if I could find another, which is doubtful, who knows what I'd be jumping into. I throw my empty game bag around my neck and slowly lower myself until I'm hanging by my hands. For a moment, I gather my courage. Then I release my fingers. There's the sensation of falling. Then I hit the ground with a jolt that goes right up my spine. A second later, my rear end slams the ground. Been there. I lie in snow, trying to assess the damage. Without standing, I can tell by the pain in my left heel and my tailbone, been there, that I'm injured. The only question is how badly. I'm hoping for bruises, but when I force myself onto my feet, I suspect I've broken something as well. Been there, dude. I can walk, though, so I get moving, trying to hide my limp as best as I can. My mother and Prim can't know I was in the woods. I need to work up some sort of alibi, no matter how thin. Some of the shops in the square are still open, so I go in one and purchase white cloth for bandages. We're running low anyway. In another, I buy a bag of sweets for Prim. I stick one of the candies in my mouth, feeling the peppermint melt on my tongue, and realize it's the first thing I've eaten all day. I meant to make it a meal at the lake, but once I saw Twill and Bonnie's condition, it seemed wrong to take a single mouthful from them. By the time I reach my house, my left heel will bear no weight at all. I decided to tell my mother I was trying to mend a leak in the roof of our old house and slid off. As for the missing food, I'll just be vague about who I handed out to. I drug myself in the door, all ready to collapse in front of the fire, but instead I get another shock. Two peacekeepers, a man and a woman, are standing in the doorway to our kitchen. The woman remains impassive, but I catch the flicker of surprise on the man's face. I am unanticipated. They know I was in the woods and should be trapped there now. Hello, I say in a neutral voice. My mother appears behind them, but keeps her distance. Here she is, just in time for dinner, she says a little too brightly. I'm very late for dinner. I consider removing my boots as I normally would, but doubt I can manage it without revealing my injuries. Instead, I just pull off my wet hood and shake the snow from my hair. Can I help you with something? I ask the peacekeepers. Head Peacekeeper Thread sent us with a message for you, says the woman. They've been waiting for hours, my mother adds. Reading stream? Yeah, we're doing Hunger Games Catching Fire. I did Gohan Blanco. Hello. No, yeah. My first stream on TikTok, was me reading the Hunger Games book 1, and so it's becoming like kind of a tradish, to read. We're now on Catching Fire. We're on chapter 11. If you have it with you, page 155. Oh my god, thank you so much for the 800 likes. Thank you. Okay. They've been waiting for me to fail to return. To confirm I got electrocuted by the fence or trapped in the woods so they could take my family in for questioning. Must be an important message, I say. May we ask where you've been, Miss Everdeen? The woman asks. Easier to ask where I haven't been, I say with a sound of exasperation. I cross into the kitchen, forcing myself to use my foot normally, even though every step is excruciating. I pass between the peacekeepers and make it to the table all right. I fling my bag down and turn to Prim, who's standing stiffly by the hearth. Hamish and Peta are there as well, sitting in a pair of matching rockers, playing a game of chess. Were they here by chance or invited by the peacekeepers? Either way, I'm glad to see them. So where haven't you been? Says Hamish in a bored voice. Well, I haven't been talking to the goat man about getting Prim's goat pregnant because someone gave me completely inaccurate information as to where he lives, I say to Prim emphatically. No, I didn't, says Prim. I told you exactly. You said he lives besides the west entrance to the mine, I say. The east entrance, Prim corrects me. You distinctly said the west because then I said, next to the slag heap? And you said, yeah, I say. The slag heap next to the east entrance, says Prim, patiently. Ooh. No. When did you say that, I demand. Last night, Hamish chimes in. It was definitely the east, adds Peta. He looks at Hamish, and they laugh. I glare at Peta, and he tries to look contrite. I'm sorry, but it's what I've been saying. You don't listen when people talk to you. Bet people told you he didn't live there today, and you didn't listen again, says Hamish. Shut up, Hamish, I say, clearly indicating he's right. Hamish and Peta crack up, and Prim allows herself a smile. Fine. Somebody else can arrange to get the stupid goat knocked up, I say, which makes them laugh more. And I think, This is why they've made it this far, Hamish and Peta. Nothing throws them. I look at the peacekeepers. The man smiling, but the woman is unconvinced. What's in the bag? She asks, sharply. I know she's hoping for game or wild plants, something that clearly condemns me. I dump the contents on the table. See for yourself. Oh, good, says my mother, examining the cloth. We're running low on bandages. Peta comes to the table and opens the candy bag. Ooh, peppermints, he says, popping one in his mouth. They're mine. I take a swipe for the bag. He tosses it to Hamish, who stuffs a fistful of sweets in his mouth before passing the bag to a giggling Prim. None of you deserve candy, I say. What, because we're right? Peta wraps his arms around me. I give a small yelp of pain as my tailbone objects. Been there, dude. I try to turn it into a sound of indignation, but I can see in his eyes that he knows I'm hurt. Okay, Prim said west. I distinctly heard west, and we're all idiots. How's that? Better, I say, and accept his kiss. Then I look at the peacekeepers as if I'm suddenly remembering they're there. You have a message for me? Hello, Fauna. Hello, hello. How's it going? Thank you so much for the 1,200 likes. Thank you, thank you. We're doing a little Hunger Games book reading. Oh, yeah. How was the wedding? The wedding was a ton of fun. Good. I'm so glad you had fun. Oh, neat. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad the wedding turned out pretty good. Nice. Hell yeah. From head peacekeeper Thread, says the woman. He wanted you to know that the fence surrounding District 12 will now have electricity 24 hours a day. Didn't it already? I ask, a little too innocently. He thought you might be interested in passing this information on to your cousin, says the woman. Thank you, I'll tell him. I'm sure we'll all sleep a little more soundly now that the security has addressed that lapse. I'm pushing things, I know it, but the comment gives me a sense of satisfaction. The woman's jaw tightens. None of this has gone as planned, but she has no further orders. She gives me a curt nod and leaves, the man tailing her in her wake. When my mother has locked the door behind them, I slump against the table. What is it? Says Peta, holding me steadily. Oh, I banged up my left foot, the heel, and my tailbone's had a bad day too. Sam. He helps me over to one of the rockers and I lower myself onto the padded cushion. My mother eases off my boots. What happened? I slipped and fell, I say. 4 pairs of eyes look at me with disbelief. On some ice. But we all know the house must be bugged and it's not safe to talk openly. Not here. Not now. Having stripped off my sock, my mother's fingers probe the bones of my left heel and I wince. There might be a break, she says. She checks the other foot. This one seems alright. She judges my tailbone to be badly bruised. Same. Prim's dispatched to get my pajamas and robe. When I'm changed, my mother makes a snowpack for my left heel and props it up on a hassock. I eat 3 bowls of stew and half a loaf of bread, while the others dine at the table. I stare at the fire, thinking of Bonnie and Twill, hoping that the heavy, wet snow has erased my tracks. Prim comes and sits on the floor next to me, leaning her head against my knee. We suck on peppermints as I brush her soft blonde hair back behind her ear. How was school? I ask. All right, we learned about coal byproducts, she says. We stare at the fire for a while. Are you going to try on your wedding dresses? Not tonight. Tomorrow, probably, I say. Wait until I get home, okay? She says. Sure, if they don't arrest me first. Thank you for the share. My mother gives me a cup of chamomile tea with a dose of sleep syrup, and my eyelids begin to droop immediately. She wraps my bad foot and Peta volunteers to get me to bed. I start out by leaning on his shoulder, but I'm so wobbly, he just scoops me up and carries me upstairs. He tucks me in and says goodnight, but I catch his hand and hold him there. A side effect of the sleep syrup is that it makes people less inhibited, like white liquor. And I know I have to control my tongue, but I don't want him to go. In fact, I want him to climb in with me, to be there when the nightmares hit tonight. But for some reason I can't quite form. I know I'm not allowed to ask that. Don't go yet. Not until I fall asleep, I say. Peeta sits on the side of the bed, warming my hand in both of his. Almost thought you'd change your mind today when you were late for dinner. I'm foggy, but I can guess what he means. With the fence going on and me showing up late and the peacekeepers waiting, he thought I'd made a run for it, maybe with Gale. No, I'd have told you, I say. I pull his hands up and lean my cheek against the back of it, taking in the faint scent of cinnamon and dill from the breads he must have baked today. I want to tell him about Twill and Bonnie and the uprising and the fantasy of District 13, but it's not safe to, and I can feel myself slipping away. So I just get out one more sentence. Stay with me. Wait, this isn't the smut reading I signed up for? Don't worry about that. That's on the menu, but yeah. You know, fuck it, we're gonna do a Patreon on that. Yeah. As the tendrils of sleep syrup pull me down. That's for his birthday stream. Wait, Fauna, you're right. Wait a minute, that's actually a good idea. I think smut reading on my birthday stream sounds so cool. That's such a good idea. Yeah. No, I might. I'll consider that. That's definitely option number 1. Do it. Yeah. That'd be hilarious. Oh, dude. Isn't there like a website? I'll send you some options. Okay, good. I was gonna say, isn't like there's like AO3 or something? I don't know. Lonnie will hook me up. Yeah, will set me up for the right material. Yeah. I can share my Kindle password with you. Oh my word. Oh god, not AO3. I'm oblivious, but I know the 3, you know. As the tendrils of sleep syrup pull me down, I hear him whisper a word back, but I don't quite catch it. My mother lets me sleep until noon, then rouses me to examine my heel. I'm ordered to a week of bed rest, and I don't object because I feel so lousy. Not just my heel and my tailbone, my whole body aches with exhaustion. So I let my mother doctor me and feed me breakfast in bed and tuck another quilt around me. Then I just lie there, staring out my window at the winter sky. At least Amiibo is gone? Oh, what is that? Pondering how Earth will all turn out. I think a lot about Bonnie and Twill and the pile of white wedding dresses downstairs, and if Thread will figure out how I got back in and arrest me. It's funny because he could just arrest me anyway, based on the past crimes. But maybe he has to have something really irrefutable to do it, now that I'm a victor. And I wonder if President Snow's in contact with Thread. I think it's unlikely he ever acknowledged that old Cray existed. But now that I'm such a nationwide problem, is he carefully instructing Thread what to do? Or is Thread acting on his own? At any rate, I'm sure they'd both agree on keeping me locked up here inside the district with that fence. Even if I could figure out some way to escape, maybe get a rope up to that maple tree branch and climb down. There'd be no escaping with my family and friends now. I told Gale I would stay and fight anyway. For the next few days, I jump every time there's a knock on my door. No peacekeepers show up to arrest me, though, so eventually I begin to relax. I'm further reassured when Peeta casually tells me the power is off in sections of the fence because crews are out securing the base of the chain link to the ground. Thread must believe I somehow got under the thing, even with that deadly current running through it. It's a break for the district, having the peacekeepers busy doing something besides abusing people. Damn. Peeta comes by every day to bring me cheese buns and begin to help me work on the family book. It's an old thing, made of parchment and leather, Some herbalists on my mother's side of the family started it ages ago. The book's composed of page after page of ink drawings of plants with descriptions of their medical uses. My father added a section on edible plants that was my guidebook to keeping us alive after his death. For a long time, I've wanted to record my own knowledge in it. Things I learned from experience from Gale, things I learned from experience or from Gale, then the information I picked up when I was training for the games. I didn't because I'm no artist, and it's so crucial that the pictures are drawn in exact detail. That's where Peter comes in. Some of the plants he knows already, others we have dried samples of, and others I have to describe. He makes sketches on scrap paper until I'm satisfied they're right. Then I let him draw them in the book. After that, I carefully print all I know about the plant. It's quiet, absorbing work that helps take my mind off of my troubles. I like to watch his hands as he works, making a blank page bloom with strokes of ink, adding touches of color to our previously blackened yellowish book. His face takes on a special look when he concentrates. His usual easy expression is replaced by something more intense and removed that suggests an entire world locked away inside him. I've seen flashes of this before, in the arena, or when he speaks to a crowd, or that time he shoved the Peacekeepers' guns away from me in District 11. I don't know quite what makes of it. I don't know quite what to make of it. I also become a little fixated on his eyelashes, which ordinarily you don't notice much because they're so blonde. But up close, in the sunlight slanting in from the window, they're light golden color, and so long I don't see how they keep from getting all tangled up when he blinks. One afternoon, Peter stops shading a blossom and looks up so suddenly that I start, as though I were caught spying on him, which in a strange way maybe I was. But he only says, I think this is the first time we've ever done anything normal together. Yeah, I agree. Our whole relationship has been tainted by the games. Normal was never a part of it. Nice for a change. Each afternoon he carries me downstairs for a change of scenery, and I unnerve everyone by turning on the television. Usually we only watch when it's mandatory because the mixture of propaganda and displays the Capitol's power, including clips from 74 years of Hunger Games, is so odious. But now I'm looking for something special. The Mockingjay that Bonnie and Twill are basing all their hopes on. I know it's probably foolishness, but if it is, I want to rule it out and erase the idea of a thriving District 13 from my mind for good. My first sighting is in a news story referring the dark days. I see the smoldering remains of the Justice Building in District 13 and just catch the black and white underside of a Mockingjay's wing as it flies across the upper right-hand corner. That doesn't prove anything, really. It's just an old shot that goes with an old tale. However, several days later, something else grabs my attention. The main newscaster is reading a piece about a shortage of graphite affecting the manufacturing of items in District 3. Wait. Interesting. The main news... Let's see... They cut to what is supposed to be live footage of a female reporter encased in a protective suit, standing front of the ruins of the Justice Building in 13. Through her mask, she reports that unfortunately a study has just today determined that the mines of District 13 are still too toxic to approach. End of story. But just before they cut back to the main newscaster, I see the unmistakable flash of that same Mockingjay's wing. The reporter has simply been incorporated into the old footage. She's not in 13 at all. Which begs the question, what is? Oh. So wait. But just before they cut to the main newscaster, I see the unmistakable flash of that same Mockingjay's wing. The reporter has simply been incorporated into the old footage. Oh, they don't know anything about District 13. They don't have any updates. They only have the old recording of that area. Interesting. Okay. Huh. On to chapter 12. Okay. Staying quietly in bed is harder after that. I want to be doing something, finding out more about District 13 or helping in the cause to bring down the capital. Instead, I sit around stuffing myself with cheese buns and watching Peta sketch. Haymitch stops by occasionally to bring me news from town, which is always bad. More people being punished or dropping from starvation. Winter has begun to withdraw by the time my foot is deemed usable. My mother gives me exercises to do and lets me walk on my own a bit. I go to sleep one night, determined to go into town the next morning, but I awake to find Venia, Octavia, and Flavius grinning down at me. Surprise, they squeal. We're here early. After I took that lash in the face, Haymitch got their visit pushed back several months so I could heal up. I wasn't expecting them for another 3 weeks, but I try to act delighted that my bridal photo shoot is here at last. My mother hung up all the dresses so they're ready to go, but to be honest, I haven't even tried one yet. After the usual histrionics about the deteriorated state of my beauty, they get right down to business. Their biggest concern is my face. Although I think my mother did a pretty remarkable job healing it, there's just a pale pink strip across my cheekbone. The whipping's not common knowledge, so I tell them I slipped on the ice and cut it. And then I realize that's my same excuse for hurting my foot, which is going to make walking in high heels a problem. But Flavius, Octavia, and Venia aren't the suspicious types, so I'm safe there. Since I only have to look hairless for a few hours instead of several weeks, I get to be shaved instead of waxed. I still have to soak in a tub of something, but it isn't vile, and we're on to my hair and makeup before I know it. The team, as usual, is full of news, which I usually do my best to tune out, but then Octavia makes a comment that catches my attention. It's a passing remark, really, about how she couldn't get shrimp for a party. But it tugs at me. Why couldn't you get shrimp? Is it out of season, I ask? Oh, Katniss. We haven't been able to get any seafood for weeks, says Octavia. You know, because the weather's been so bad in District 4. My mind starts buzzing. No seafood for weeks from District 4. The barely concealed rage in the crowd during the victory tour, and suddenly I am absolutely sure that District 4 has revolted. I begin to question them casually about what other hardships this winter has brought them. They are not used to want, so any little disruption in supply makes an impact on them. By the time I'm ready to be dressed, their complaints about the difficulty of getting different products, from crab meat to music chips to ribbons, has given me a sense of which districts might actually be rebelling. Seafood from District 4, electronic gadgets from 3, and of course fabrics from District 8. The thought of such widespread rebellion has me quivering with fear and excitement. I want to ask them more, but Cinna appears to give me a hug and check my makeup. His attention goes right to the scar on my cheek. Somehow I don't think he believes the slipping on ice story, but he doesn't question it. He simply adjusts the powder on my face, and what little you can see of the lash marks vanishes. Downstairs, the living room has been cleared and lit for the photo shoot. Effie's having a fine time ordering everybody around, keeping us all on schedule. It's probably a good thing, because there are 6 gowns and each one requires its own headpiece, shoes, jewelry, hair, makeup, setting, and lighting. Creamy lace and pink roses and ringlets, ivory satin and gold tattoos and greenery. A sheath of diamonds and jeweled veil and moonlight. Heavy white silk and sleeves that fall from my wrist to the floor in pearls. The moment one shot has been approved, we move right into preparing for the next. I feel like dough, being kneaded and reshaped again and again. My mother manages to feed me bits of food and sips of tea while they work on me, but by the time the shoot is over, I'm starving and exhausted. I'm hoping to spend some time with Cinna now, but Effie whisks everybody out the door and I have to make do with the promise of a phone call. Evening has fallen and my foot hurts from all the crazy shoes, so I abandon any thoughts of going into town. Instead, I go upstairs and wash away the layers of makeup and conditioners and dyes and then go down to dry my hair by the fire. Prim, who came home from school in time to see the last two dresses, chatters on about them with my mother. They both seem overly happy about the photo shoot, and I fall into bed, realizing it's because they think it means I'm safe. That the capital has overlooked my interference with the whipping since no one is going to go to such trouble and expense for someone they plan on killing. Anyway, right. In my nightmare, I'm dressed in the silk bridal gown, but it's torn and muddy. The long sleeves keep getting caught on thorns and branches as I run through the woods. The pack of mutation tributes draws closer and closer until it overcomes me with hot breath and dripping fangs, and I scream myself awake. Damn. It's too close to dawn to bother trying to get back to sleep. Besides, today I really have to get out and talk to someone. Gale will be unreachable in the mines, but I need Hamish or Peta or somebody to share my burden of all that has happened to me since I went to the lake. Fleeing outlaws, electrified fences, and independent District 13, shortages in the capital, everything. I eat breakfast with my mother and Prim and head out in search for a confidant. The air is warm with hopeful hints of spring in it. Spring would be a good time for an uprising, I think. Everybody feels less vulnerable once winter passes. Pete is not home. I guess he's already gone into town. I'm surprised to see Hamish moving around his kitchen so early, though. I walk into his house without knocking. I can hear Hazel's upstairs sweeping the floors of the now spotless home. Hamish isn't flat out drunk, but he doesn't look too steady either. I guess the rumors about Ripper being back in business are true. I'm thinking maybe I better let him just go to bed when he suggests a walk to town. Hamish and I can speak in a kind and shorthand now. In a few minutes, I've updated him, and he's told me about rumors of uprisings in District 7 and 11 as well. If my hunches are right, this would mean almost half the districts have at least attempted to rebel. Do you still think it won't work here? I ask. Not yet. Those other districts, they're much larger. Even if half the people cower in their homes, the rebels stand a chance. Here in 12, it's got to be all of us or nothing, he says. I hadn't thought of that. How we lack strength of numbers, but maybe at some point, I insist. Maybe. But we're small, we're weak, and we don't develop nuclear weapons, says Hamish, with a touch of sarcasm. He didn't get too excited over my District 13 story. What do you think they'll do, Hamish, to the districts that are rebelling, I ask. Hey, how's it going? Fizzy Cat, how you doing? Let's see. Well, you've heard what they did in 8. You've seen what they did here, and that was without provocation, says Hamish. If things really do get out of hand, I think they'd have no problem killing off another district. Same as they did 13. Make an example of it, you know. So you think 13 was really destroyed? I mean, Bonnie and Twill were right about the footage of the Mockingjay, I said. Okay, but what does that prove? Nothing really. There are plenty of reasons they could be using old footage. Probably it looks more impressive and it's a lot simpler, isn't it? To just press a few buttons in the editing room, then to fly all the way out there and film it. The idea that 13 has somehow rebounded and the capital is ignoring it, that sounds like the kind of rumor desperate people cling to. I know. I was just hoping to say. Exactly. Because you're desperate, says Image. I don't argue because, of course, he's right. Prim comes home from school bubbling over with excitement. The teachers announced there was mandatory programming tonight. I think it's going to be your photo shoot. It can't be, Prim. They only did the pictures yesterday, I tell her. Well, that's what everybody heard, she says. I'm hoping she's wrong. I haven't had the time to prepare Gale for any of this. Since the whipping, I only see him when he comes to the house for my mother to check on how he's healing. He's often scheduled 7 days a week in the mine. In the few minutes of privacy we've had with me walking back to town, I gather that the rumblings of an uprising in 12 have been subdued by threads cracking down. He knows I'm not going to run, but he must also know that if we don't revolt in 12, I'm destined to be Peeta's bride. Seeing me lounging around in gorgeous gowns on his television, what can you do with that? When we gather around the television at 7:30, I discover that Prim is right. Sure enough, there's Caesar Flickerman speaking before a standing room only crowd in front of the training center, talking to an appreciative crowd about my upcoming nuptials. He introduces Cinna, who became an overnight star with his costumes for me in the games, and after a minute of good-natured chit-chat, we're directed to turn our attention to a giant screen. I see now how they could photograph me yesterday and present the special tonight. Initially, Cinna designed 24 wedding gowns. Since then, there's been the process of narrowing down the designs, creating the dresses and choosing the accessories. Apparently, in the capital, there were opportunities to vote for your favorite in each stage. This is all culminating with shots of me in the final 6 dresses, which I'm sure took no time at all to insert in the show. Each shot is met with a huge reaction from the crowd. People screaming and cheering for their favorites, booing the ones they don't like. Having voted and probably bet on the winner, people are very invested in my wedding gown. It's bizarre to watch when I think how I never even bothered to try one on before the cameras arrived. Caesar announces that interested parties must cast their final vote by noon on the following day. Let's get Katniss Everdeen to her wedding in style, he hollers to the crowd. I'm about to shut off the television, but then Caesar's telling us to stay tuned for the other big event of the evening. That's right, this year will be the 75th anniversary of the Hunger Games, and that means it's time for our 3rd quarter quell. Lobotomite, my bad, I gotta miss the stream. I'm playing a drink game and... Oh, hell yeah, right on, right on. Let's see. The 3rd quarter quell. What will they do? Asked Prim. It isn't for months yet. We turn to our mother, whose expression is solemn and distant, as if she's remembering something. It must be the reading of the card. The anthem plays and my throat tightens with revulsion as President Snow takes the stage. He's followed by a young boy dressed in a white suit holding a simple wooden box. The anthem ends and President Snow begins to speak, to remind us all of the dark days from which the Hunger Games were born. When the laws of the games were laid out, they dictated that every 25 years the anniversary would be marked by a quarter quell. It would call for a glorified version of the games to make fresh the memory of those killed by the district's rebellion. These words could not be more pointed, since I suspect several districts are rebelling right now. President Snow goes on to tell us what happened in the previous quarter quells. On the 25th anniversary, as a reminder to the rebels that their children were dying because of their choice to initiate violence, every district was made to hold an election and vote on the tributes who would represent it. I wonder how that would have felt, picking the kids who had to go. It is worse, I think, to be turned over by your own neighbors than have your name drawn from the reaping ball. On the 50th anniversary, the president continues, as a reminder that 2 rebels died for each capital citizen, every district was required to send twice as many tributes. I imagine facing a field of 47 instead of 23. Worse odds, less hope, and ultimately more dead kids. That was the year Haymitch won. Ooh. I had a friend who went that year, says my mother quietly. Maisie Donner. Her parents owned the sweet shop. They gave me her songbird after, a canary. Prim and I exchange a look. It's the first we've ever heard of Maisie Donner. Maybe because my mother knew we would want to know how she died. And now we honor our 3rd quarter quell, says the president. The little boy in white steps forward, holding out the box as he opens the lid. We can see the tidy, upright rows of yellowed envelopes. Whoever devised the quarter quell system had prepared for centuries of Hunger Games. The president removes an envelope clearly marked with a 75. He runs his finger under the flap and pulls out a small square of paper. Without hesitation, he reads, "On the 75th anniversary, as a reminder to the rebels that even the strongest among them cannot overcome the power of the capital, the male and female tributes will be reaped from their existing pools of victors." My mother gives a faint shriek and Prim buries her face in her hands, but I feel more like the people I see in the crowd on television, slightly baffled. What does it mean? Existing pool of victors. Then I get it. What it means, at least for me. District 12 only has 3 existing victors to choose from. 2 male, 1 female. I'm going back into the arena. Oh no, bro. Oh no. Fuck. Okay. Fuck. She's going back. She's going back. There's no way. There's no way. She's going back. There's no way. Fuck. Alright, chapter 13. Oh, I know. Chapter 14 is going to be a fucking cliffhanger. Oh, god damn it. Okay. My body reacts before my mind does, and I'm running out the door, across the lawns of the victor's village, into the dark beyond. Moisture from the sodden ground soaks my socks, and I'm aware of the sharp bite of the wind, but I don't stop. Where? Where to go? The woods, of course. I'm at the fence before the hum makes me remember how very trapped I am. I back away, panting, turning on my heel, and take off again. The next thing I know, I'm on my hands and knees in the cellar of one of the empty houses in the victor's village. Faint shafts of moonlight come in through the window wells above my head. I'm cold and wet and winded, but my escape attempt has done nothing to subdue the hysteria rising up inside me. It will drown me unless it's released. I ball up in front of my shirt, stuff it into my mouth, and begin to scream. How long this continues, I don't know. But when I stop, my voice is almost gone. I curl up on my side and stare at the patches of moonlight on the cement floor. Back in the arena. Back in the place of nightmares. That's where I'm going. I have to admit I didn't see it coming. I saw a multitude of other things, being publicly humiliated, tortured, or executed. Fleeing through the wilderness, pursued by peacekeepers and hovercraft. Marriage to PETA with our children forced into the arena. but never that I myself would have to be a player in the games again. Why? Why? Because there's no precedent for it. Victors are out of the reaping for life. That's the deal if you win. Until now. There's some kind of sheeting, the kind they put down where they paint. I pull it over me like a blanket. In the distance, someone is calling my name, but at that moment, I excuse myself from thinking about even those I love most. I think only of me and what lies ahead. The sheeting stiff but holds warmth. My muscles relax, my heart rate slows. I see the wooden box in the little boy's hands, President Snow drawing out the yellowed envelope. Is it possible that this was really the Quarter Quell written down 75 years ago? It seems unlikely. It's just too perfect an answer for the troubles that face the capital today. Getting rid of me and subduing the districts all in one neat little package. I hear President Snow's voice in my head. On the 75th anniversary, as a reminder to the rebels that even the strongest among them cannot overcome the power of the capital, the male and female tributes will be reaped from their existing pool of victors. Bitch. Yes, victors are our strongest. They're the ones who survived the arena and slipped the noose of poverty that strangles the rest of us. They, or should I say we, are the very embodiment of hope where there is no hope. And now 23 of us will be killed to show how even that hope was an illusion. Fuck. Goddamn. I'm glad I won last year. I'm glad I won only last year. Otherwise, I'd know all the other victors. Not just because I see them on television, but because they're guests at every games. Even if they're not mentoring like Haymitch always has to. Most return to the capital each year for the event. I think a lot of them are friends, whereas the only friend I'll have to worry about killing will be either Peeta or Haymitch. Wait, Peeta or Haymitch? I sit straight up, throwing off the sheeting. What just went through my mind? There's no situation in which I would ever kill Peeta or Haymitch, but one of them will be in the arena with me, and that's a fact. They may have even decided between them who it will be. Whoever is picked first, the other will have the option of volunteering to take his place. I already know what will happen. Peeta will ask Haymitch to let him go into the arena with me no matter what, for my sake, to protect me. I stumble around the cellar, looking for an exit. How did I even get into this place? I feel my way up the steps to the kitchen and see the glass window in the door has been shattered. It must be why my hands seem to be bleeding. I hurry back into the night and head straight to Haymitch's. He's sitting alone at the kitchen table, a half-emptied bottle of white liquor in one fist, his knife in the other, drunk as a skunk. Ah, there she is, all tuckered out. Finally did the math, did you, sweetheart? Worked out you won't be going in alone. And now that you're here to ask me what, he says. I don't answer. The window's wide open and the wind cuts through me just as if I were outside. I'll admit it. It was easier for the boy. He was here before I could snap the seal on the bottle, begging me for another chance to go in. But what can you say? He mimics my voice. Take his place, Haymitch, because all things being equal, I'd rather Peeta had a crack at the rest of his life than you? I bite my lip because once he's said it, I'm afraid that's what I do want. For Peeta to live, even if it means Haymitch's death. No, I don't. He's dreadful, of course, but Haymitch is my family now. What did I come for, I think? What could I possibly want here? I came for a drink, I say. Haymitch bursts out laughing and slams a bottle on the table before me. I run my sleeve across the top and take a couple of gulps before I come up choking. It takes a few minutes to compose myself, and even then my eyes and nose are still dreaming. But inside me, the liquor feels like fire, and I like it. Maybe it should be you, I say matter-of-factly as I pull up a chair. You hate life anyway. Very true, says Hamish. And since last time I tried to keep you alive, seems like I'm obligated to save the boy this time. That's another good point, I say, wiping my nose and tipping up the bottle again. Damn, she is hating the bottle. Peeta's argument is that since I chose you, I now owe him. Anything he wants, and what he wants is the chance to go in again to protect you, says Hamish. I knew it. In this way, Peeta's not hard to predict. While I was wallowing around on the floor of that cellar, thinking only of myself, he was here, thinking only of me. Shame isn't a strong enough word for what I feel. You could live 100 lifetimes and not deserve him, you know, Hamish says. Yeah, I say burlesquely. No question, he's the superior one in this trio. So what are you going to do? I don't know, Hamish sighs. Go back in with you maybe if I can? If my name's drawn at the reaping, it won't matter. He'll just volunteer to take my place. We sit for a while in silence. It'd be bad for you in the arena, wouldn't it, knowing all the others? Oh, I think we can count on it being unbearable wherever I am. He nods at the bottle. Can I have the bottle back now? No, I say, wrapping my arms around it. Hamish pulls another bottle out from under the table and gives the top a twist, but I realize I'm not just here for a drink. There's something else I want from Hamish. Okay, I figured out what I'm asking, I say. If it is Peeta and me in the games, this time we try to keep him alive. Something flickers across his bloodshot eyes. Pain. Like you said, it's going to be bad no matter how you slice it. And whatever Peeta wants, it's his turn to be saved. We both owe him that. My voice takes on a pleading tone. Besides, the Capitol hates me so much, I'm as good as dead now. He still might have a chance. Please, Hamish, say you'll help me. He frowns at his bottle, weighing my words. All right, he says finally. Thanks, I say. I should go see Peeta now, but I don't want to. My head's spinning from the drink and I'm so wiped out, who knows what he could get me to agree to. No, now I have to go home and face my mother and Prim. As I stagger up the steps to my house, the front door opens and Gale pulls me into his arms. I was wrong. We should have gone when you said, he whispers. No, I say. I'm having trouble focusing and liquor keeps sloshing out of my bottle and down the back of Gale's jacket, but he doesn't seem to care. It's not too late, he says. Over his shoulder, I see my mother and Prim clutching each other in the doorway. We run, they die, and now I've got Peeta to protect. End of discussion. Yeah, it is. My knees give way and he's holding me up. As the alcohol overcomes my mind, I hear the glass bottle shatter on the floor. This seems appropriate since I have obviously lost my grip on everything. When I wake up, I barely get to the toilet before the white liquor makes its reappearance, but it burns just as bad coming up as it did going down, and it tastes twice as bad. I'm trembling and sweating when I finish vomiting, but at least most of the stuff is out of my system. Enough made it out. Enough made it into my bloodstream, though, to result in a pounding headache, parched mouth, and boiling stomach. I turn on the shower and stand under the warm rain for a minute before I realize I'm still in my underclothes. My mother must have stripped off my filthy ones and tucked me into bed. I throw the wet undergarments into the sink and pour shampoo on my head. My hands sting, and that's when I notice the stitches, small and even, across one palm and up the side of the other. Vaguely, I remember breaking the glass window last night. I scrub myself from my head to toe, only stopping to throw up again right into the shower. It's mostly just bile and goes down the drain with the sweet-smelling bubbles. Finally clean, I pull on my robe and head back to bed, ignoring my dripping hair. I climb under the blankets, sure this is what it must feel like to be poisoned. The footsteps on the stairs renew my panic from last night. I'm not ready to see my mother and Prim. I have to pull myself together to be calm and reassuring, the way I was when we said our goodbyes the day of the last reaping. I have to be strong. I struggle into an upright position, push my wet hair off my throbbing temples, and brace myself for this meeting. They appear in the doorway, holding tea and toast, their faces filled with concern. I open my mouth, planning to start off with some kind of joke, and burst into tears. So much for being strong. My mother sits on the side of the bed, and Prim crawls right up next to me, and they hold me, making quiet, soothing sounds until I mostly cried out. Then Prim gets a towel and dries my hair, combing out the knots, while my mother coaxes tea and toast into me. They dress me in warm pajamas and layer more blankets on me, and I drift off again. I can tell by the light it's late afternoon when I come round again. There's a glass of water on my bedside table, and I gulp it down thirstily. My stomach and head still feel rocky, but much better than they did earlier. I rise, dress, and braid back my hair. Before I go down, I pause at the top of the stairs, feeling slightly embarrassed about the way I've handled the news of the quarter quell. My erratic flight, drinking with Hamish, weeping. Given the circumstances, I guess I deserve one day of indulgence. I'm glad the cameras weren't here for it, though. Downstairs, my mother and Prim embrace me again, but they're not overly emotional. I know they're holding things in to make it easier on me. Looking at Prim's face, it's hard to imagine she's the same frail little girl I left behind on Reaping Day 9 months ago. The combination of that ordeal and all that has followed, the cruelty in the district, the parade of sick and wounded that she often treats by herself now if my mother's hands are too full. These things have aged her years. She's grown a quite bit, too. We're practically the same height now, but that isn't what makes her seem so much older. My mother ladles out a mug of broth for me and asks for a second mug to take to Hamish. Then I walk across the lawn to his house. He's only just waking up and accepts the mug without comment. We sit there, almost peacefully, sipping our broth and watching the sun set through his living room window. I hear someone walking around upstairs and I assume it's Hazel, but a few minutes later, PETA comes down and tosses a cardboard box of empty liquor bottles on the table with finality. There, it's done, he says. It's taking all of Hamish's resources to focus his eyes on the bottles, so I speak up. What's done? I poured all the liquor down the drain, says PETA. This seems to jolt Hamish out of his stupor, and he paws through the boxes in disbelief. You what? I tossed the lot, says PETA. He'll just buy more, I say. No, he won't, says PETA. I tracked down Ripper this morning and told her I'd turn her in the second she sold to either of you. I paid her off too, just for good measure, but I don't think she's eager to be back to the Peacekeeper's custody. Hamish takes a swipe with his knife, but PETA deflects it so easily it's pathetic. Anger rises up in me. What business is it of yours what he does? It's completely my business. However, it falls out, two of us are going to be in the arena again with the other as a mentor. We can't afford any drunkards on this team, especially not you, Katniss. Ooh. Ouch. Damn. Katniss says to me. What? I sputter indignantly. It would be more convincing if I weren't still hungover. Last night's the only time I've ever even been drunk. Yeah, and look at the shape you're in, says PETA. I don't know what I expected from my first meeting with PETA after the announcement. A few hugs and kisses, a little comfort maybe. Not this. I turn to Hamish. Don't worry, I'll get you more liquor. Damn, she's already on it. Then I'll turn you both in, let you sober up in the stocks, says PETA. What's the point of this, says Hamish. The point is that two of us are coming home from the capital, one mentor and one victor, says Peta. Effie's sending me recordings of all the living victors. We're going to watch their games and learn everything we can about how they fight. We're going to put on weight and get strong. We're going to start acting like careers. And one of us is going to be victor again, whether you two like it or not. He sweeps out of the room, slamming the front door. Hamish and I wince at the bang. I don't like self-righteous people, I say. What's to like, says Hamish, who begins sucking the dregs out of the empty bottles. You and me, that's who he plans on coming home, I say. Well then, the joke's on him, says Hamish. But after a few days, we agree to act like careers, because this is the best way to get Peta ready as well. Every night we watch the old recaps of the games that the remaining victors won. I realize we never met any of them on the victory tour, which seems odd in retrospect. When I bring it up, Hamish says the last thing President Snow would have wanted was to show Peta and me, especially me, bonding with the other victors in potentially rebellious districts. Victors have a special status. If they appear to be supporting my defiance of the capital, it would have been dangerous politically. Adjusting for age, I realize some of our opponents may be elderly, which is both sad and reassuring. Peta takes copious notes, Hamish volunteers information about the victors' personalities, and slowly we begin to know our competition. Every morning we do exercises to strengthen our bodies. We run and lift things and stretch our muscles. Every afternoon we work on combat skills, throwing knives, fighting hand to hand. I even teach them how to climb trees. Officially, tributes aren't supposed to train, but no one tries to stop us. Even in regular years, the tributes from Districts 1, 2, and 4 show up able to wield spears and swords. This is nothing by comparison. After all the years of abuse, Hamish's body resists improvement. He's still remarkably strong, but the shortest run wins him. And you'd think a guy who sleeps every night with a knife might actually be able to hit the side of a house with one. But his hands shake so badly it takes weeks for him to achieve even that. Damn. Peta and I excel under the new regime, though. It gives me something to do. Gives us all something to do, besides accept defeat. My mother puts us on a special diet to gain weight. Prim treats our sore muscles. Madge sneaks us her father's capital newspapers. Predictions on who will be victor of the victors show us among the favorites. Even Gale steps into the picture on Sundays, although he's got no love for Peta or Hamish, and teaches us all he knows about snares. It's weird for me, being in conversations with both Peta and Gale, but they seem to have set aside whatever issues they have about me. One night, as I'm walking Gale back into town, he even admits, it'd be better if we were easier to hate. Tell me about it, I say. If I could have just hated him in the arena, we all wouldn't be in this mess now. He'd be dead, and I'd be happy. I'd be a happy little victor, all by myself. And where would we be, Katniss? Asks Gale. I pause, not knowing what to say. Where would I be with my pretend cousin who wouldn't be my cousin if it weren't for Peta? Would we have still kissed me? Would he have still kissed me, and would I have kissed him back? Had I been free to do so? Would I have let myself open up to him, lulled by the security of money and food and the illusion of safety being a victor could bring under different circumstances? There would still always be the reaping looming over us, over our children, no matter what I wanted. Oh. Hunting, like every day, I say. I know he didn't mean the question literally, but this is as much as I can honestly give. Gale knows I choose him over Peta when I didn't make a run for it. To me, there's no point in talking about things that might have been. Even if I had killed PETA in the arena, I still wouldn't have wanted to marry anyone. I only got engaged to save people's lives, and that's completely backfired. Oof. I'm afraid, anyway, that any kind of emotional scene with Gale might cause him to do something drastic, like start that uprising in the mines. And as Hamish says, District 12 isn't ready for that. If anything, they're less ready than before the Quarter Quell announcement, because the following morning, another 100 peacekeepers arrived on the train. Since I don't plan on making it back alive a second time, the sooner Gale lets me go, the better. I do plan on saying one or two things to him after the reaping, when we're allowed an hour for goodbyes, to let Gale know how essential he's been to me all these years, how much better my life has been for knowing him, for loving him, even if it's only in the limited way I can manage. But I never get the chance. The day of the reaping's hot and sultry. The population of District 12 waits, sweating and silent, in the square with machine guns trained on them. I stand alone in a small, roped-off area with PETA and Hamish in a similar pen to the right of me. The reaping takes only a minute. Effie, shining in a wig of metallic gold, lacks her usual verve. She has to claw around the girl's reaping ball for quite a while to snag the one piece of paper that everybody already knows has my name on it. Then she catches Hamish's name. He barely has time to shoot me an unhappy look before PETA has volunteered to take his place. We are immediately marched into the Justice Building to find Head Peacekeeper Thread waiting for us. "New procedure," he says with a smile. We're ushered out the back door, into a car, and taken to the train station. There are no cameras on the platform, no crowd to send us our way. Hamish and Effie appear, escorted by guards. Peacekeepers hurry us all onto the train and slam the door. The wheels begin to turn, and I'm left staring out the window watching District 12 disappear, with all my goodbyes still hanging on my lips. Oh, fuck. Chapter 14. Damn, they just said, you're going. You're done. They said, no goodbyes this time. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, they just said, oh, Quarter Quell? Yeah, you're going straight. You're going straight to the train. Is this like a book club? Yeah, we're reading Hunger Games Catching Fire. We're on chapter 14 right now. A little bit about me. Twitch streamer. Have been streaming for about like 2 years now. And at the start of this year, I decided to try TikTok. And so I'm multi-streaming. Every once in a while, he blesses our ears. Oh, Lonnie. Shucks. And so, yeah, started this year. I'm like, I'm going to try something new. I'll try simulcasting, multi-streaming. And so the first multi-stream I did was reading the Hunger Games. And so, yeah, it's just kind of every once in a while, I'll read like 4 or 5 chapters. The goal is to finish Mockingjay and Ballads of Songbirds before Sunset of the Reaping movie drops in November. So we're good on schedule. Susan Collin can get these hands. I mean, Fennec, I understand. My thing is, I've watched the movies, but I've never read the books. Tippy, how's it going? Thank you so much for the 3,000 likes. Yeah, I've never read the books. And in comparison, the books are sick as hell. I like the difference from the books and movies. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I haven't read any of the books. I tried reading them in school, but it was kind of like The Giver, hard to follow and kind of lame. Giver, I kind of have mixed feelings of. But this is pretty good. I liked it. I like it so far. I mean, it's you know, what was it, like something narrator? Not unfaithful. Fuck. Untrustworthy narrator or something like that, because it is, you know, Katniss Everdeen. So like the narration is kind of, you know, a little off-putting, not off-putting, but you know what I mean. But I like it so far. It's not bad. Comparison of like the books and movies, like obviously the movies help with like visualization and everything, but the books do help with like a little of thank you for the likes. It helps with like oh man, I'm not good at explaining things. But it's good. I would try to shoot for a second read. The Giver. Huh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe I should read it again, but dead ass when I was reading it in school. It's just like old man massages memories of pain onto child. Here, have the memory of getting shanked in the stomach. Here, have the memory of kidney stones. Here, have the memory of your first love to crush your heart. No. It was wild. Yeah, I might need to reread The Giver, but I'm just remembering like this is like an old man massaging like memories of pain into this kid. Wild. Um Here. Heartburn. Mr. Giver, sir, I kind of want to have like decent memory time. Okay, okay. Here. Toothpick jammed in fingernail. uh, Here, walking on Lego. Yeah, just Mr. Giver, sir. What's what? So, let's do all the pain, and then we'll do the SpongeBob popsicle. Yeah, it's just Mr. Giver, sir. You mentioned popsicles. What are those? Oh, okay. Trust. I'll give you the memories of a milkshake. Memories of fucking you know, mystery drink from all the chemicals underneath the sink. Mr. Giver, sir, I just want to have like a chill, like sunset or something. Okay. Massages memories of tonsil stones. I want one of the Scooby Doo push pops. Yeah, dude, good times, good times. Yeah, that was a crazy book. And it was like a job, right? Like the kid's just like straight from school to getting memories of pain. And it isn't like the it's nah, the Tweety Bird ice cream bar, yeah. Isn't like the giver gives the memories to the kids, the old man doesn't have them anymore. So he's just like, fuck, I don't want to have this memory of stubbing my toe. Let me just do this 20 times onto this kid. Yeah. Not just that, but he's the only one with the memories. Yeah. No, it's just funny and ridiculous, not gonna lie. Like I understand like the dystopia and like, you know, the wild fuck shit around it, but it's just like oh, okay, I'm supposed to relieve myself of these painful memories onto you. Worse than the fucking hyperbolic time chamber type shit, alright? It's like, I have the memory of Deadpool and how he got his superpower. Here's the memory of the sensory deprivation tank, but with all the sensory. Nobody to relate to, yeah. Here's the memory of Cyberpunk 2077 before a single patch. No! Yeah. Crazy. But no, yeah, I really like Hunger Games. My thing was, I watched the first movie, and then, you know, the market kind of flooded a little bit with like Divergence and shit like that. Like, same kind of, you know, menu, similar item on the menu type shit when Hunger Games kind of popped off. And so I was like, I'm just gonna, you know, watch Surf's Up for the 100th time and have a good time. And then, you know, for a while, Divergence's peak. Doesn't she have like that weird ass like scream? I bet that's a soundbite. I bet there's a way I can have that as a soundbite. Yeah, need me the Divergence scream soundbite. Something like that. Oh, the weirdest. Yeah. But yeah, once like a bunch of those kind of movies came out, I was like, yeah, whatever. I'll just watch Hoodwinked or something. And then last year, I actually finally watched Catching Fire and Mockingjay Part 1 and 2, and holy shit, peak. And then now I'm finally reading the books. And so far, pretty good. With the help of the movies, it kind of helps me visualize it, I guess. Even though, like, they don't go into detail about the mutts from the first book and how they're, like, genetically modified from the dead tributes with, like, similar eyes and tuft of fur of their hair. And also the collars with the district. No, anyway, that's fucked. Yeah, the movie didn't really go into that. But, like, all the mutts at the end of the first, you know, book or movie, like, all those hellhound dudes are genetically modified corpses turned into, like, monsters. With the help of the book, you know, a little more context. But both are good. Yeah. Let's see, we got one more chapter. We'll see what time it is after I finish this chapter. And then maybe do one more? Maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, besides reading book streams, I also do like Fallout New Vegas, Resident Evil, and variety, pretty much. Just kind of a hodgepodge. And I'm also on Twitch. If you follow me on Twitch, I will be an inch closer to do a maid outfit stream. And then Tuesday is my birthday, and we'll do a little stream there. I'll have to figure out when I'm coming back and everything after, you know, hanging out and stuff. But yeah, Tuesday's birthday, we'll do a cool little stream. Might do a little facecam webcam, we'll see. Do like a little chatting or read some more stuff, we'll see. You know, without further ado, we'll read chapter 14. A little bit of banter in hopes that you have a physical copy of the book so you can follow through. Hello, demon. Hello there. But yeah, we're gonna read chapter 14. Shit is kinda getting good. Cause now they're in the 75th Hunger Games, the Quarter Quell, where it's double the trip. No, it's the victors. Yeah. The 50th Hunger Game is the the double the tributes. Right. But yeah. Okay. Chapter 14. I remain at the window long after the woods have swallowed up the last glimpse of my home. This time I don't have even the slightest hope of return. Before my first games, I promised Prim I would do everything I could to win, and now I've sworn to myself to do all I can to keep Peeta alive. I will never reverse this journey again. I'd actually figured out what I wanted my last words to my loved ones to be. How best to close and lock the doors and leave them sad but safely behind. Now the capital has stolen that as well. We'll write letters, Katniss, says Peeta from behind me. It'll be better, anyway, giving them a piece of us to hold on to. Haymitch will deliver them for us if they need to be delivered. I nod and go straight to my room. I sit on the bed, knowing I will never write those letters. They will be like the speech I tried to write on Rue and Thresh in District 11. Things seemed clear in my head, and even when I talked before the crowd, but the words never came out of the pen right. Besides, they were meant to go with embraces and kisses and a stroke of Prim's hair, a caress of Gale's face, a squeeze of Madge's hand. They cannot be delivered with a wooden box containing my cold, stiff body. Too heart sick to cry. All I want is to curl up on the bed and sleep until we arrive in the capital tomorrow morning. But I have a mission. No, it's more than a mission. It's my dying wish. Keep Peeta alive. And as unlikely as it seems that I can achieve it in the face of the capital's anger, it's important that I be at the top of my game. This won't happen if I'm mourning for everyone I love back at home. Let them go, I tell myself. Say goodbye and forget them. I do my best, thinking of them one by one, releasing them like birds from the protective cages inside me, locking the doors against their return. By the time Effie knocks on my door to call me to dinner, I'm empty. But the lightness isn't entirely unwelcome. The meal's subdued. So subdued, in fact, that there are long periods of silence relived only by the removal of old dishes and presentation of new ones. A cold soup of puree vegetables, fish cakes with creamy lime paste, those little birds filled with orange sauce, with wild rice and watercress, chocolate custard dotted with cherries. Peeta and Effie make occasional attempts at conversation that quickly die out. I love your new hair, Effie, Peeta says. Thank you. I had it especially done to make Katniss's pin. I was thinking we might get you a golden ankle band and maybe find Haymitch a gold bracelet or something so we could all look like a team, says Effie. Evidently, Effie doesn't know that my Mockingjay pin is now a symbol used by the rebels, at least in District 8. In the capital, the Mockingjay is still a fun reminder of an especially exciting Hunger Games. What else could it be? Real rebels don't put a secret symbol on something as durable as jewelry. They put it on a wafer of bread that can be eaten in a second if necessary. I think that's a great idea, says Peeta. How about it, Haymitch? Yeah, whatever, says Haymitch. He's not drinking, but I can tell he'd like to be. Effie had them take her own wine away when she saw the effort he was making, but he's in a miserable state. If he were the tribute, he would have owed Peeta nothing and could be as drunk as he'd like. Now it's going to take all he's got to keep Peeta alive in an arena full of his old friends, and he'll probably fail. Maybe we could get you a wig too, I say, in an attempt as lightness. He just shoots me a look that says to leave him alone, and we all eat our custard in silence. Shall we watch the recap of the reapings? Says Effie, dabbing at the corners of her mouth with a white linen napkin. Peeta goes off to retrieve his notebook on the remaining living victors and we gather in the compartment with the television to see who our competition will be in the arena. We are all in place as the anthem begins to play and the annual recap of the reaping ceremonies in the 12 districts begin. In the history of the games, there have been 75 victors. 59 are still alive. I recognize many of their faces, either from seeing them as tributes or mentors at previous games, or from our recent viewing of the victors' tapes. Some are so old or wasted by illness, drugs, or drink that I can't place them. As one would expect, the pools of career tributes from districts 1, 2, and 4 are the largest. But every district has managed to scrape up at least one female and one male victor. The reapings go by quickly. PETA studiously puts stars by the names of the chosen tributes in his notebook. Haymitch watches, his face devoid of emotion, as friends of his step up to take the stage. Effie makes hushed, distressed comments like, "Oh, not Cecilia," or, "Well, Chef never could stay out of a fight," and sighs frequently. For my part, I try to make some mental record of other tributes, but like last year, only a few really stick out in my head. There's the classically beautiful brother and sister from District 1, who were victors in consecutive years when I was little. Brutus, a volunteer from 2, who must be at least 40, and apparently can't wait to get back into the arena. Finnick, the handsome bronze-haired guy from District 4, who was crowned 10 years ago at the age of 14. Damn. A hysterical young woman with flowing brown hair is also called from 4, but she's quickly replaced by a volunteer. An 80-year-old woman who needs a cane to walk to the stage. Then there's Joanna Mason, the only living female victor from 7, who won a few years back by pretending she was a weakling. The woman from 8, who Effie calls Cecilia, who looks about 30, has to detach herself from 3 kids who run up to cling to her. Schaff, a man from 11 who I know to be one of Haymitch's particular friends, is also in. I'm called, then Haymitch and PETA volunteers. One of the announcers actually get teary because it seems the odds will never be in our favor. We star-crossed lovers of District 12. Then she pulls herself together and to say she bets these will be the best games ever. Haymitch leaves the compartment without a word, and Effie, after making a few unconnected comments about this tribute or that, bids us good night. I just sit there watching PETA rip out the pages of the victors who were not picked. "Why don't we get some sleep?" he says. "Because I can't handle the nightmares, not without you," I think. They are sure to be dreadful tonight, but I can hardly ask PETA to come sleep with me. We've barely touched since the night Gale was whipped. "What are you going to do?" I ask. "Just review my notes a while. Get a clear picture of what we're up against. But I'll go over it with you in the morning. Go to bed, Katniss," he says. So I go to bed, and sure enough, within a few hours, I awake from a nightmare where that old woman from District 4 transforms into a huge rodent and gnaws on my face. I know I was screaming, but no one comes. Not PETA, not even one of the Capitol attendants. I pull on a robe to try and calm the goose flesh crawling over my body. Staying in my compartment is impossible, so I decide to go find someone to make me tea or hot chocolate or anything. Maybe Haymitch is still up. Surely he isn't asleep. I order warm milk, the most calming thing I can think of, from an attendant. Hearing voices from the television room, I go in and find PETA. Beside him on the couch is the box Effie sent of tapes of the old Hunger Games. I recognize the episode in which Brutus became victor. PETA rises and flips off the tape when he sees me. Couldn't sleep? Not for long, I say. I pull the robe more securely around me as I remember the old woman transforming into the rodent. "Want to talk about it?" he asks. Sometimes that can help, but I just shake my head, feeling weak that people I haven't even fought yet already haunt me. When PETA holds out his arms, I walk straight into them. It's the first time since they announced the Quarter Quell that he's offered me any sort of affection. He's been more like a very demanding trainer, always pushing, always insisting Hamish and I run faster, eat more, know our enemy better. Lover? Forget about it. He abandoned any pretense of even being my friend. I wrap my arms tightly around his neck before he can order me to do push ups or something. Instead, he pulls me in close and buries his face in my hair. Warmth radiates from the spot where his lips just touch my neck, slowly spreading through the rest of me. It feels so good, so impossibly good, that I know I will not be the first to let go. And why should I? I have said goodbye to Gale. I'll never see him again, that's for certain. Nothing I do now can hurt him. He won't see it, or he'll think I am acting for the cameras. That, at least, is one weight off my shoulders. The arrival of the Capitol attendant with a warm milk is what breaks us apart. He sets the tray with steaming ceramic jug and 2 mugs on the table. I brought an extra cup, he says. Thanks, I say. And I added a touch of honey to the milk, for sweetness. And just a pinch of spice, he adds. He looks at us like he wants to say more, then gives his head a slight shake and backs out of the room. What's with him, I say. I think he feels bad for us, says PETA. Right. I mean it. I don't think the people of the Capitol are going to be all that happy about our going back again, says PETA. Or the other victors. They get attached to their champions. I'm guessing they'll get over it once the blood starts flowing, I say flatly. Really, if there's one thing I don't have time for, it's worrying about how the Quarter Quell will affect the mood of the Capitol. So you're watching all the tapes again? Not really. Just sort of skipping around to see people's different fighting techniques, says PETA. Who's next? You pick, says PETA, holding out the box. The tapes are marked with the year of the games and the name of the victor. I dig around and suddenly find one in my hand that we have not watched. The year of the games is 50. That would make it the second Quarter Quell. And the name of the victor is Hamish Abernathy. We never watched this one, I say. PETA shakes his head. No, I knew Hamish didn't want to. The same way we didn't want to relive our own games. And since we're all on the same team, I didn't think it mattered much. Is the person who won in 25 in here? I ask. I don't think so. Whoever it was must be dead by now. And Effie only sent me victors we might have to face. PETA weighs Hamish's tape in my hand. Why? You think we ought to watch it? It's the only quell we have. We might pick up something valuable about how they work, I say. But I feel weird. It seems like some major invasion of Hamish's privacy. I don't know why it should, since the whole thing was public. But it does. I have to admit I'm also extremely curious. We don't have to tell Hamish we saw it. Okay, PETA agrees. He puts in the tape and I curl up next to him on the couch with my milk, which is really delicious with the honey and spices, and lose myself in the 50th Hunger Games. After the anthem, they show President Snow drawing the envelope and the second Quarter Quell. He looks younger, but just as repellent. He reads from the square of paper in the same onerous voice he used for hours, informing Panem that in honor of the Quarter Quell, there will be twice the number of tributes. The editors smash cut right into the reapings, where names after name after name is called. By the time we get to District 12, I'm completely overwhelmed by the sheer number of kids going to certain death. There's a woman, not Effie, calling the names in 12, but she still begins with ladies first. She calls out the names of a girl who's from the Seam. You can tell by the look of her. And then I hear the name Maisley Donner. Oh, I say. She was my mother's friend. The camera finds her in the crowd, clinging to two other girls, all blonde, all definitely merchants' kids. I think that's your mother hugging her, says Peeta quietly, and he's right. As Maisley Donner bravely disengages herself and heads for the stage, I catch a glimpse of my mother at my age, and no one has exaggerated her beauty. Holding her hand and weeping is another girl who looks just like Maisley, but a lot like someone else I know too. Madge, I say. That's my mother. She and Maisley were twins or something, Peeta says. My dad mentioned it once. I think of Madge's mother, Mayor Undersea's wife, who spends her life in bed, immobilized with terrible pain, shutting out of the world. I think of how I never realized that she and my mother shared this connection. Of Madge showing up in the snowstorm to bring the painkiller for Gale. Of my Mockingjay pin and how it means something completely different now I know that its former owner was Madge's aunt, Maisley Donner, a tribute who was murdered in the arena. Oh shit. Oh shit. Haymitch's name is called at last. It's more of a shock to see him than my mother. Young, strong, hard to admit, but he was something of a looker. His hair dark and curly, those gray seam eyes bright and even then dangerous. Oh, Peeta, you don't think he killed Maisley, do you? I burst out. I don't know why, but I can't stand the thought. With 48 players, I'd say the odds are against it, says Peeta. The chariot rides, in which the District 12 kids are dressed in awful coal miners' outfits, and the interviews flash by. There's little time to focus on anyone. But since the Haymitch is going to be the victor, we get to see one full exchange between him and Caesar Flickerman, who looks exactly as he always does in his twinkling midnight blue suit. Only his dark green hair, eyelids, and lips are different. So, Haymitch, what do you think of the games having 100% more competitors than usual? Asks Caesar. Haymitch shrugs. I don't see that it makes much difference. They'll still be 100% as stupid as usual, so I figure my odds will be roughly the same. The audience bursts out laughing, and Haymitch gives them a half smile, snarky, arrogant, indifferent. He didn't have to reach far for that, did he? Now it's the morning the games begin. We watch from the point of view of one of the tributes as she rises up through the tube from the launch room and into the arena. I can't help but give a slight gasp. Disbelief is reflected on the faces of the players. Even Haymitch's eyebrows lift in pleasure, although they almost immediately knit themselves back into a scowl. It's the most breathtaking place imaginable. The golden cornucopia sits in the middle of a green meadow with patches of gorgeous flowers. The sky is azure blue with puffy white clouds. Bright songbirds flutter overhead. By the way some of the tributes are sniffing, it must smell fantastic. An aerial shot shows that the meadow stretches for miles. Far in the distance, in one direction, there seems to be a woods, in the other, a snow-capped mountain. The beauty disorientates many of the players because when the gong sounds, most of them seem like they're trying to wake from a dream. Not Haymitch, though. He's at the cornucopia, armed with a weapon and a backpack of choice supplies. He heads for the woods before most of the others have stepped off their plates. 18 tributes are killed in the bloodbath that first day. Others begin to die off, and it becomes clear that almost everything in this pretty place, the luscious fruit dangling from the bushes, the water in the crystalline streams, even the scent of the flowers when inhaled too directly, is deadly poisonous. Holy shit. Fuck. Everything is poison. Fuck. Double the tributes and everything is poisonous. What the fuck? Only rainwater and the food provided at the cornucopia are safe to consume. There's also a large, well-stocked career pack of 10 tributes scouring the mountain area for victims. Haymitch has his own troubles over in the woods, where the fluffy golden squirrels turn out to be carnivorous and attack in packs, and the butterfly stings bring agony, if not death. Jesus Christ. But he persists in moving forward, always keeping the distant mountain at his back. Maisie Donner turns out to be pretty resourceful herself for a girl who leaves the cornucopia with only a small backpack. Inside, she finds a bowl with some dried beef and a blowgun with 24 darts. Making use of the readily available poison, she soon turns the blowgun into a deadly weapon by dipping the darts into lethal substances and directing them into her opponent's flesh. 4 days in, the picturesque mountain erupts in a volcano that wipes out another dozen players. Jesus. Including all but 5 of the career pack, with the mountain spewing liquid fire, and the meadows offering no means of concealment. The remaining 13 tributes, including Haymitch and Maisie, have no choice but to confine themselves to the woods. Haymitch seems bent on continuing in the same direction, away from the now volcanic mountain, but a maze of tightly woven hedges forces him to circle back into the center of the woods, where he encounters 3 of the careers and pulls his knife. They may be much bigger and stronger, but Haymitch has remarkable speed and has killed 2 when the 3rd disarms him. That career is about to slit his throat when a dart drops him to the ground. Maisie Donner steps out of the woods. We'd live longer with the 2 of us. Guess you just proved that, says Haymitch, rubbing his neck. Allies? Maisie nods. And there they are, instantly drawn into one of those packs you'd be hard-pressed to break if you ever expect to go home and face your district. Ugh. Just like that, Peeta and me, they do better together. Get more rest, work out a system to salvage more rainwater, fight as a team, and share the food from the dead tributes packs. But Haymitch is still determined to keep moving on. Why? Maisie keeps asking, and he ignores her until she refuses to move any further without an answer. Because it has to end somewhere, right? Says Haymitch. The arena can't go on forever. What do you expect to find? Maisie asks. I don't know, but maybe there's something we can use. Yeah, he says. When they finally do make it through that impossible hedge, using a blowtorch from one of the dead careers packs, they find themselves on a flat, dry earth that leads to a cliff. Far below, you can see jagged rocks. That's all there is, Haymitch. Let's go back, says Maisie. No, I'm staying here, he says. All right, there's only 5 of us left. May as well say goodbye now anyway, she says. I don't want it to come down to you and me. Okay, he agrees. That's all. He doesn't offer to shake hands or even look at her, and she walks away. Haymitch skirts along the edge of the cliff as if trying to figure something out. His foot dislodges a pebble and it falls into the abyss, apparently gone forever. But a minute later, as he sits to rest, the pebble shoots back up beside him. Haymitch stares at it, puzzled, and then his face takes on a strange intensity. He lobs a rock the size of his fist over the cliff and waits. When it flies back out and right into his hand, he starts laughing. That's when we hear Maisie begin to scream. The alliance is over and she broke it off, so no one could blame him for ignoring her. But Haymitch runs for her anyway. He arrives only in time to watch the last of a flock of candy-pink birds, equipped with long, thin beaks, skewer her through the neck. He holds her hand while she dies, and all I can think of is Rue and how I was too late to save her too. Jesus fucking Christ. Later that day, another tribute is killed in combat, and the 3rd gets eaten by a pack of those fluffy squirrels. Jesus. Leaving Haymitch and a girl from District 1 to vie for the crown. She's bigger than he is, and just as fast. And when the inevitable fight comes, it's bloody and awful, and both have received what could be fatal wounds. When Haymitch is finally disarmed, he staggers through the beautiful woods, holding his intestines in while she stumbles after him, carrying an axe that should deliver his death blow. Haymitch makes a beeline for his cliff and has just reached the edge when she throws an axe. He collapses on the ground and it flies into the abyss. Now weaponless as well, the girl just stands there, trying to staunch the flow of blood pouring from her empty eye socket. Jesus Christ. She's thinking perhaps that she can outlast Haymitch, who's starting to convulse on the ground. But what she doesn't know, and what he does, is that the axe will return. And when it flies back over the ledge, it buries itself in her head. The cannon sounds, her body is removed, and the trumpets blow to announce Haymitch's victory. Peeta clicks off the tape and we sit there in silence for a while. Me fucking too. Finally, Peeta says, "That force field at the bottom of the cliff, it was like the one on the roof in the training center. The one that throws you back if you try to jump off and commit suicide. Haymitch found a way to turn it into a weapon. Not just against the other tributes, but the capital, too, I say. You know, they didn't expect that to happen. It wasn't meant to be part of the arena. They never planned on anyone using it as a weapon. It made them look stupid that he figured it out. I bet they had a good time trying to spin that one. But that's why I don't remember seeing it on television. It's almost as bad as us and the berries." I can't help laughing, really laughing, for the first time in months. Peeta just shakes his head like I lost my mind. Maybe I have a little. Yeah. Almost, but not quite, says Haymitch from behind us. Fuck. I whip around, afraid he's going to be angry over us watching his tape, but he just smirks and takes a swig from a bottle of wine. So much for sobriety. I guess I should be upset he's drinking again, but I'm preoccupied with another feeling. I've spent all these weeks getting to know who my competitors are, without even thinking about who my teammates are. Now a new kind of confidence is lighting up inside of me because I think I finally know who Haymitch is, and I'm beginning to know who I am. And surely, two people who have caused the capital so much trouble can think of a way to get Peeta home alive. End of chapter 14. Dude, that is crazy. Thank you so much, Avatar. Thank you for the likes. Yeah, we're reading Catching Fire. Yeah, Sunset of the Reaping is about that. Is about Haymitch's Hunger Games, the 50th. How he won. Bro was. I like Hunger Games. I like the idea. I like the concept. Okay, I don't like the concept. I don't like the kids dying, but like the maps and the arenas are really interesting. Beautiful landscape. You know, amazing place. Everything is poisonous. Nice volcano with snow caps. It's a living volcano that will erupt. Beautiful trees and woods and everything. The squirrels will eat you alive, and a butterfly will sting you to death. What the fuck? Alright, that is insane. Seriously, fucking crazy. No, yeah, that's really good. Let's see. Let me just check how long chapter 15 is. Mm. 16 pages? Okay. Are you guys down for another chapter? What are you guys thinking? Because I'm down for another chapter. We can squeeze enough time. Let's fucking go! Yeah. Let's do it. No, that's fucking sick. And that's also another interesting thing is like they watch a tape of Haymitch's and Susan Collin fucking knows the Sunset of the Reaping. She's like, wait, actually? Amazing idea. Will you be reading Ballad of Songbirds or go straight to Sunrise? No, we're gonna be reading Sunset or Ballad of Songbirds. Yeah. I did watch the movie, but I do want to see what the book is like. No, yeah, we will be doing Ballad of Songbirds first, and then Sunset. And I'm gonna cry because holy shit, the connection and everything. What do you think will be in Sunrise? Since we basically just read about the games just now. Maisley Donner, I think, is going to be an interesting thing. Something to do with like Haymitch and Maisley Donner, I think, and there's got to be something about like Katniss's mom or something. That's going to be interesting, I think. That's also a nice little tidbit that I liked. The connection and like Katniss finding out about Maisley Donner and shit. And also I want to know like how District 12 was around that time. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to read chapter 15. And we're about halfway. We're roughly halfway into Catching Fire, which is nice. So we're full steam ahead, pretty much. Let me actually just kind of see. What's the last chapter? 27. Okay. Oh yeah, no, we're fine. Yeah, because we do. Yeah, no, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. It'll be a minute before we do another book stream, but I think we should do them kind of sort of often, just so we're kind of like in the presence, kind of in the world, and also known to be, you know, a little book reading stream kind of deal. Yeah. Okay. Without further ado, chapter 15. And Haymitch is not pissed that they're watching his thing. Having been through prep with Flavius, Venia, and Octavia numerous times, it should just be an old routine to survive. But I haven't anticipated the emotional ordeal that awaits me. At some point during the prep, each of them bursts into tears at least twice, and Octavia pretty much keeps a running whimper throughout the morning. It turns out they really have become attached to me, and the idea of returning to the arena has undone them. Combine that with the fact that by losing me, they'll be losing their ticket to all kinds of big social events, particularly my wedding, and the whole thing becomes unbearable. The idea of being strong for someone else having never entered their heads, I find myself in the position of having to console them. Since I'm the person going to be slaughtered, this is somewhat annoying. Yeah, man. It's interesting, though. When I think of what Peta said about the attendant on the train being unhappy about the victors having to fight again, about people in the capital not liking it, I still think all of that will be forgotten once the gong sounds. but it's something of a revelation that those in the capital feel anything at all about us. They certainly don't have a problem watching children murdered every year, right? But maybe they know too much about the victors, especially the ones who've been celebrities for ages, to forget we're human beings. It's more like watching your own friend die. More like the games are for those of us in the districts. By the time Cinna shows up, I am irritable and exhausted from comforting the prep team, especially because their constant tears are reminding me of the ones undoubtedly being shed at home. Standing there in my thin robe with my stinging skin and heart, I know I can't bear even one more look of regret. So the moment he walks in the door, I snap. I swear if you cry, I'll kill you here and now. Cinna just smiles. Had a damp morning? You could wring me out, I reply. Cinna puts his arm around my shoulder and leads me into lunch. Don't worry, I always channel my emotions into my work. That way I don't hurt anyone but myself. Oh, I can't go through that again, I warn him. I know. I'll talk to them, says Cinna. Lunch makes me feel a bit better. Pheasant with a selection of jeweled-colored jellies and tiny versions of real vegetables swimming in butter, and potatoes mashed with parsley. For dessert, we dip chunks of fruit in a pot of melted chocolate, and Cinna has to order a second pot because I start just eating the stuff with a spoon. Sam. So what are we wearing for the opening ceremonies? I finally ask as I scrape the second pot clean. Headlamps on fire. I know the chariot ride will require Peeta and me to be dressed in something coal related. Something along that line, he says. When it's time to get in costume for the opening ceremonies, my prep team shows up, but Cinna sends them away, saying they've done such a spectacular job in the morning. There's nothing left to do. They go off to recover, thankfully leaving me in Cinna's hands. He puts up my hair first, in the braided style my mother introduced him to, then proceeds with my makeup. Last year he used so little that the audience would recognize me when I landed in the arena, but now my face is almost obscured by the dramatic highlights and dark shadows. High arching eyebrows, sharp cheekbones, smoldering eyes, deep purple lips. The costume looks deceptively simple at first. Just a fitted black jumpsuit that covers me from the neck down. He places a half crown like the one I received as victor on my head, but it's made of a heavy black metal, not gold. Then he adjusts the light in the room to mimic twilight and presses a button just inside the fabric on my wrist. I look down, fascinated, as my ensemble slowly comes to life. First with a soft golden light, but gradually transforming to the orange red of burning coal. I look as if I have been coated in glowing embers. No, that I am a glowing ember straight from our fireplace. The colors rise and fall, shift and blend, in exactly the way the coals do. That's sick. Gotta find a way to make these outfits in real life, bro. That's awesome. How did you do this, I say in wonder. Portia and I spend a lot of hours watching fires, says Cinna. Now look at yourself. He turns me towards a mirror so that I can take in the entire effect. I do not see a girl or even a woman, but some unearthly being who looks like she might make her home in a volcano that destroyed so many in Haymitch's Quell. Damn. The black crown, which now appears red hot, casts strange shadows on my dramatically made-up face. Katniss, the girl on fire, has left behind her flickering flames and bejeweled gowns and soft candlelight frocks. She is as deadly as fire itself. I think this is just what I needed to face the others, I say. Yes, I think your days of pink lipstick and ribbons are behind you, says Cinna. He touches the button on my wrist again, extinguishing my light. Let's not run down your power pack. When you're on the chariot this time, no waving, no smiling. I just want you to look straight ahead, as if the entire audience is beneath your notice. Finally, something I can be good at, I say. Cinna has a few more things to attend to, so I decide to head down to the ground floor to the remake center, which houses the huge gathering place for the tributes and their chariots before the opening ceremonies. I'm hoping to find Peta and Hamish, but they haven't arrived yet. Unlike last year, when all the tributes were practically glued to their chariots, the scene is very social. The victors, both this year's tributes and their mentors, are standing around in the small groups, talking. Of course, they all know one another, and I don't know anyone, and I'm not really the sort of person to go around introducing myself. So I just stroke the neck of one of my horses and try not to be noticed. It doesn't work. The crunching hits my ear before I even know he's beside me, and when I turn my head, Finnick O'Dare's famous sea green eyes are only inches from mine. He pops a sugar cube in his mouth and leans against my horse. "Hello, Katniss," he says, as if we've known each other for years, when in fact we've never met. "Hello, Finnick," I say, just as casually, although I'm feeling uncomfortable at his closeness, especially since he's got so much bare skin exposed. "Want a sugar cube?" he says, offering his hand, which is piled high. "They're supposed to be for the horses, but who cares? They've got years to eat sugar, whereas you and I, well, if we see something sweet, we better grab it quick." Okay, he's pretty cool already. He's got it cool. Finnick Odair is something of a living legend in Panem, since he won the 65th Hunger Games when he was only 14. He's still one of the youngest victors. Being from District 4, he was a career, so the odds are already in his favor, but what no trainer could claim to have given him was his extraordinary beauty. Tall, athletic, with golden skin and bronze-colored hair and those incredible eyes. While other tributes that year were hard-pressed to get a handful of grain or some matches for a gift, Finnick never wanted for anything. Not food or medicine or weapons. It took about a week for his competitors to realize that he was the one to kill, but it was too late. He was already a good fighter, and the spears and knives he had found in the cornucopia. When he received a silver parachute with a trident, which may be the most expensive gift I've ever seen given in the arena, it was all over. District 4's industry is fishing. He'd been on boats his whole life. The trident was a natural, deadly extension of his arm. He wove a net out of some kind of vine he found, used it to tangle his opponents so he could spear them with the trident, and within a matter of days, the crown was his. Holy gladiator, bro. The citizens of the capital have been drooling over him ever since. Because of his youth, they couldn't really touch him for the first year or two, but ever since he turned 16, he spent his time at the games being dogged by those desperately in love with him. No one retains his favor for long. He can go through 4 or 5 in his annual visit. Old or young, lovely or plain, rich or very rich, he'll keep them company and take their extravagant gifts, but he never stays. And once he's gone, he never comes back. Oh. I can't argue that Finnick isn't the one of the most stunning, sensuous people on the planet, but I can honestly say he's never been attractive to me. Maybe he's too pretty, or maybe he's too easy to get. Rude. Or maybe it's really that he'd just be too easy to lose. "No thanks," I say to the sugar. "I'd love to borrow your outfit sometime, though." He's draped in a golden net that's strategically knotted at his groin so that he can't technically be called naked, but he's about as close as you can get. I'm sure his stylist thinks the more Finnick the audience sees, the better. "Oh, you're absolutely terrifying me in the group. You're absolutely terrifying. You are absolutely terrifying me in that getup. What happened to the pretty little girl dresses?" he asks. He wets his lips just ever so slightly with his tongue. Probably this drives most people crazy, but for some reason all I can think of is old Grace salivating over some poor starving young woman. I outgrew them, I say. Finnick takes the collar of my outfit and runs it between his fingers. It's too bad about this Quell thing. You could have made out like a bandit in the capital. Jewels, money, anything you wanted. I don't like jewels, and I have more money than I need. What do you spend all yours on anyway, Finnick? I say. Oh, I haven't dealt in anything as common as money for years, says Finnick. Then how do they pay you for the pleasure of your company, I say? With secrets, he says softly. He tips his head, and so his lips are almost in contact with mine. Finnick, hold on now. Hold on, Finnick. Wait, whoa. What about you, girl on fire? Do you have any secrets worth my time? For some stupid reason, I blush. Damn. Okay. Finnick has it. All right. Nobody but Finnick has it. What is it? Finnick. But I forced myself to hold my ground. Fair. No, I'm an open book, I whisper back. Everybody seems to know my secrets before I know them myself. He smiles. Unfortunately, I think that's true. His eyes flicker off to the side. PETA's coming. Sorry you have to cancel your wedding. I know how devastating that must be for you. He tosses another sugar cube in his mouth and saunters off. The Finnick way. PETA's beside me, dressed in an outfit identical to mine. What did Finnick O'Dare want? He asks. I turn and put my lips close to PETA's and drop my eyelids in imitation of Finnick. He offered me sugar and wanted to know all my secrets, I say in my best seductive voice. PETA laughs. Ugh, not really. Ugh. Ew. Fucking Ken is all seductive like, and PETA's like, ew. Really, I say. I'll tell you more when my skin stops crawling. Do you think we'd have ended up like this if only one of us had won? He asks, glancing around at the other victors. Just another part of the freak show? Sure. Especially you, I say. Oh, and why especially me, he says with a smile. Because you have a weakness for beautiful things and I don't, I say with an air of superiority. They would lure you into their capital ways and you'd be lost entirely. Having an eye for beauty isn't the same thing as a weakness, PETA pointed out. Especially possibly when it comes to you. The music begins and I see the wide doors opening for the first chariot, hear the roar of the crowd. Shall we? I hold out my hand to help him into the chariot. I climb up and pull him up after me. Hold still, I say, and straighten his crown. Have you seen your suit turn on? We're going to be fabulous again. Absolutely. Portia says we're not to be very above it all. No waving or anything, he says. Where are they, anyway? I don't know. I eye the procession of chariots. Maybe we better go ahead and switch ourselves on. We do, and we begin to glow. I can see people pointing at us and chattering. I know that, once again, will be the talk of the opening ceremonies. We're almost at the door. I crane my head around, but neither Portia nor Cinna, who were with us right up to the final second last year, are anywhere in sight. Are we supposed to hold hands this year, I ask? I guess they've left it up to us, says PETA. I look up into those blue eyes that no amount of dramatic makeup can make truly deadly, and remember how just a year ago I was prepared to kill him, convinced he was trying to kill me. Now everything is reversed. I'm determined to keep him alive, knowing the cost will be my own life, but the part of me that is not so brave as I could wish is glad that it's PETA, not Haymitch, beside me. Our hands find each other without further discussion. Of course, we will go into this as one. Well, the voice of the crowd rises into one universal scream as we roll into the fading evening lights, but neither one of us reacts. I simply fix my eyes on a point far in the distance and pretend there is no audience, no hysteria. I can't help catching glimpses of us on the huge screens along the route, and we are not just beautiful, we are dark and powerful. No, more. We star-crossed lovers from District 12 who suffered so much and enjoyed so little the rewards of our victory. Do not seek the fans' favor, grace them with our smiles, or catch their kisses. We are unforgiving. Peter. And I love it. Getting to be myself at last. As we curve around into the loop of the city circle, I can see that a couple of the other stylists have tried to steal Cinna and Portia's idea of illuminating their tributes. The electric light stunned outfits from District 3, where they make electronics, at least makes sense. But what are the livestock keepers from District 10? Who are dressed as cows doing with flaming belts? Broiling themselves? Pathetic. Peeta and I, on the other hand, are so mesmerizing with our ever-changing coal costumes that most of the other tributes are staring at us. They seem particularly riveting to the pair from District 6 who are known morphling addicts. Both bone-thin with sagging yellowish skin, they can't tear their overlarge eyes away, even when President Snow begins to speak from his balcony, welcoming us all to the Quell. The anthem plays, and as we make our final trip around the circle, am I wrong? Or do I see the president fixated as me as well? Pete and I wait until the doors of the training center have closed behind us to relax. Cinna and Portia are there, pleased with our performance, and Haymitch has made an appearance this year as well, only he's not at our chariot. He's over with the tributes of District 11. I see him nod in our direction, and then they follow him over to greet us. I know Chaff by sight because I've spent years watching him pass a bottle back and forth with Haymitch on television. He's dark-skinned, about 6 feet tall, and one of his arms ends up in a stump because he lost his hand in the Hunger Games he won 30 years ago. I'm sure they offered him some artificial replacement like they did with Peeta when they had to amputate his lower leg, but I guess he didn't take it. The woman, Cedar, looks almost like she could be from the Seam, with her olive skin and straight black hair streaked with silver. Only her golden brown eyes marked her as from another district. She must be around 60, but she still looks strong, and there's no sign she turned to liquor or morphling or any other chemical form to escape over the years. Before either of us say a word, she embraces us. She embraces me. I know somehow it must be because of Rue and Thresh. Before I can stop myself, I whisper, "The families? They're alive," she says, back softly before letting me go. Oh. Shaft throws his good arm around me and gives me a big kiss right on the mouth. I jerk back startled, while he and Haymitch guffaw. That's about all the time we get before the Capitol attendants are firmly directed us towards the elevators. I get the distinct feeling they're not comfortable with the camaraderie around the Vectors, who couldn't seem to care less. As I walk toward the elevators, my hand still linked with Peeta's, someone else wrestles up to my side. The girl pulls off a headdress of leafy branches and tosses it behind her without bothering to look where it falls. Joanna Mason, from District 7, Lumber and Paper, thus the tree. She won by very convincingly portraying herself as weak and helpless so that she would be ignored. Then she demonstrated a wicked ability to murder. She ruffles up her spiky hair and rolls her wide-set brown eyes. Isn't my costume awful? My stylist, the biggest idiot in the capital. Our tributes have been trees for 40 years under her. Wish I'd gotten Cinna. You look fantastic. Girl talk. That thing I've always been so bad at. Opinions on clothes, hair, makeup. So I lie. Yeah, he's been helping me design my own clothesline. You should see what he can do with velvet. Velvet, the only fabric I could think of off the top of my head. I have, on your tour, that strapless number you wore in District 2, the deep blue one with the diamonds. So gorgeous I wanted to reach through the screen and tear it right off your back, says Joanna. Ugh. I bet you did, I think, with a few inches of my flesh. While we wait for the elevators, Joanna unzips the rest of her tree, letting it drop to the floor, and then kicks it away in disgust. Except for her forest green slippers, she doesn't have on a stitch of clothing? That's better, she says. Oh. We end up on the same elevator with her, and she spends the whole ride to the 7th floor chatting to PETA about his paintings while the light of his still glowing costume reflects off her bare breasts. Oh. When she leaves, I ignore him, but I just know he's grinning. I toss aside his hand as the door closes behind Shaft and Cedar, leaving us alone, and he breaks out laughing. What? I say, turning on him as we step out on our floor. It's you, Katniss. Can't you see? He says. Well, it's me, I say. Why, they're all acting like this. Finnick with his sugar cubes and Shaft kissing you and that whole thing with Joanna stripping down. He tries to take on a more serious tone, unsuccessfully. They're playing with you because you're so, you know. No, I don't know, I say, and I really have no idea what he's talking about. It's like when you wouldn't look at me naked in the arena even though I was half dead. You're so pure, he says finally. I am not, I say. I've been practically ripping your clothes off every time there's been a camera for the last year. Yeah, but, for the Capitol, you're pure, he says, clearly trying to mollify me. For me, you're perfect. They're just teasing you. No. They're laughing at me, and so are you, I say. No, PETA shakes his head, but he's still suppressing a smile. I'm seriously rethinking the question of who should get out of these games alive when the other elevator opens. Haymitch and Effie joins us, looking pleased about something. Then Haymitch's face grows hard. What did I do now? I almost say, but I see he's staring behind me at the entrance to the dining room. Effie blinks in the same direction, then saying brightly, looks like they've got you a matched set this year. I turn around and find the red-headed Avox girl who tended to me last year under the games began. I think how nice it is to have a friend here. I notice that the young man beside her, another Avox, also has red hair. That must be what Effie meant by matched set. Then a chill runs through me, because I know him too. Not from the Capitol, but from years of having easy conversation in the Hob, joking over a greasy say soup, and that last day watching him lie unconscious in the square while the life bled out of Gale. Our new Avox is Darius. Oh, damn. Oh, shit. The dude they try to stop Thread from killing, practically, is an Avox. Okay. Shit. See, that's what I'm talking about, is like, they didn't put a whole lot of, like, detail like that into the movies. Obviously, time and constraint of scenes and trying to play out scenes, with that kind of level detail, but like, I don't think in the second movie they mentioned about Darius being an Avox. Yeah, and I don't really think they did a whole scene of them watching Haymitch's games in that detail. They might, I don't know. I'll probably have to rewatch it. But damn, it's getting really good. They're getting back into the games. We got about 12 chapters left. 15 chapters into the book and they have not been in the games yet. I'm pretty sure Susan Collins is not a fan of writing about the events in the games because she doesn't want characters or children to fucking die. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's getting really good. What's tomorrow? Sunday. I'll have to see what I'm in the mood for streaming tomorrow. We could try to continue New Vegas. We could try to inch closer and closer to the end so we can start a new playthrough. We could continue Resident Evil. And get closer and closer to that. But yeah, I want to finish maybe one or two things before we start Clair Obscure Expedition. You know what I mean? I don't want to have like 7 games unfinished, sort of thing, and constantly like starting playthroughs and shit. But that is all the time I have for tonight. Thank you all so much for staying here. And I appreciate everyone with the 3,000 likes, and everyone staying to watch. Shout out to everyone. And yeah, I will see you sometime tomorrow, roughly the same time. And you all have a good night. See ya.